Hi everyone, my name is Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and today's topic is unlocking metabolic flexibility, restoring cellular resilience. Did you know that your fat cells rebel when metabolism breaks down? Yeah, right now, inside your body, a crucial cellular drama is unfolding that most people never see coming. Understanding this drama is not just a matter of academic interest, but a pressing need in metabolic health. Your cells are surrounded by fuel, but are slowly starving to death. Blood sugar readings look normal. Energy levels feel manageable. Your weight stays relatively stable. Yet beneath this normalcy, fat cells are staging a biochemical rebellion that will reshape your entire metabolic future. This rebellion doesn't announce itself with apparent symptoms. It operates in the shadows for years, sometimes decades, before manifesting as diabetes, heart disease, or neurodegeneration. Understanding this hidden cellular warfare reveals why conventional approaches to metabolic health often fail and illuminates the promising future of preventative care led by precision metabolic medicine. Okay, here we go. The cellular starvation paradox. When examining patients with metabolic dysfunction, clinicians observe a striking contradiction: high blood sugar coexisting with cellular energy starvation. Almost doesn't make sense. Despite glucose abundance in the bloodstream, muscle, liver, and brain cells struggle to access or metabolize this fuel effectively. The mechanism behind this paradox involves insulin resistance at the cellular level. Insulin normally binds to receptors, triggering a cascade that moves GLUT4 transporters to the cell surface, allowing glucose entry. Right? In insulin-resistant individuals, this signaling becomes impaired through multiple pathways. Fewer insulin receptors populate the cell surface, intracellular signaling cascades malfunction, and most critically, toxic lipid molecules called ceramides accumulate and block insulin action. Glucose remains trapped in circulation while cells experience functional starvation. This creates a metabolic catch-22. Abundant fuel exists, but the cellular machinery cannot access it effectively. Fat cell rebellion and systematic spillover. The cellular starvation paradox intensifies when fat cells reach their storage capacity limits. Did you know that? That they had a limit? Yeah. Most people conceptualize fat cells as passive storage units, but research reveals them as dynamic endocrine and immune active cells with measurable defense mechanisms. When chronically exposed to energy surplus, especially in insulin dominant states, fat cells undergo hypertrophy until they reach a critical threshold. I mean, they keep growing until they almost burst. Once this expansion limit is exceeded, the surface area to volume ratio drops dramatically, oxygen diffusion becomes impaired, creating local hypoxia, nutrient exchange falters, and insulin receptor function deteriorates. The cells get so big that they essentially start to die, right, from asphyxiation, right? You could say, right? These overstressed fat cells activate inflammatory pathways, releasing cytokines like TNF alpha, IL-6, and MCP1. The inflammation attracts macrophages surrounding stressed fat cells in crown-like structures, amplifying the inflammatory response throughout the tissue. Think of inflammation as the word sounds. It's burning, right? It's causing burning, and it just builds and builds. Simultaneously, inflamed fat cells downregulate lipoprotein lipase, the enzyme required for fat storage, while upregulating hormone-sensitive lipase, which promotes fat release. This biochemical shift transforms fat cells from storage mode to spillover mode. Free fatty acids flood the bloodstream, overwhelming organs never designed for fat storage: the liver, pancreas, heart, and skeletal muscle. These organs accumulate toxic lipid intermediates, particularly ceramides and diacylglycerols, which damage mitochondria and create insulin resistance in previously healthy tissues. The cascade accelerates. Once fat cells hit maximum capacity and become inflamed, they offload their burden to vital organs, triggering widespread metabolic dysfunction. Right? Think of a dam overflowing. It starts with just little bits and then it cascades. Same thing happens with your fat cells. The metabolic Rubicon. This transition from fat cell buffering to systematic dysfunction, which we can metaphorically call the metabolic Rubicon, represents a critical threshold in metabolic health. It's the point where the body's metabolic balance shifts and dysfunction becomes more pronounced. Clinical research has identified specific biomarkers that signal when someone has crossed this metabolic Rubicon, often years before obvious symptoms appear. This underscores the importance of early detection in the field of metabolic health. Fasting insulin serves as the gold standard early marker. Normal levels remain below 6, while early dysfunction manifests as 7 to 15, with regular glucose readings. So the blood sugar seems normal, but your insulin's elevated. Okay, or your blood glucose may be slightly elevated, but your insulin's highly elevated. This elevation indicates the body is working harder to maintain glucose homeostasis, representing early insulin resistance that may precede glucose elevation by 10 to 15 years. The HOMA-IR calculation integrates fasting glucose and insulin levels to detect hidden resistance. Values above 2.73 indicate significant insulin resistance in American adults. The triglyceride to HDL ratio provides another powerful indicator. Optimal ratios stay below 1, while values above 1.5 suggest early dysfunction, and ratios exceeding 3 indicate high metabolic risk. This ratio reflects hepatic, its liver, insulin resistance, and ectopic fat spillover. That's where the fat's actually spilling out into the blood, right? Serving as an accessible proxy for metabolic derangement. Physical examination reveals additional early signs: increasing waist circumference even without weight gain, acanthosis nigrogens indicating hyperinsulinemia. These are dark patches in your skin. Okay? Early hypertension, your blood pressure goes up, and post-meal fatigue with reactive hypoglycemia. Right? You eat a meal and you don't feel energized. That's bad. These markers collectively identify the quiet tipping point where metabolic dysfunction begins, typically occurring 10 to 20 years before clinical diagnosis. Okay? This is before your doctor probably sees it. So keep that in mind. So how about mitochondrial restoration through precision sequencing? Understanding the cellular mechanisms behind metabolic dysfunction reveals why precision intervention sequencing becomes critical for restoration. The counterintuitive approach involves increasing dietary fat intake while fat cells reject fat storage. The metabolic logic centers on insulin suppression rather than fat quantity. In high carbohydrate, high insulin states, dietary fat gets stored rather than burned. Insulin inhibits lipolysis and fat oxidation while signaling adipocytes, that's your fat cells, to hoard energy, creating the overstuffed, inflamed state that drives dysfunction. Right? Ketogenic and carnivore interventions work by dramatically lowering insulin levels. When insulin drops, hormone-sensitive lipase becomes disinhibited, releasing stored fat. CPT1 and mitochondrial beta oxidation enzymes upregulate, shifting the body toward fat burning rather than storage. This creates a fundamental fuel partitioning shift. Fat flows through the system as energy rather than seeking storage destinations. Ketones produced during this process serve dual roles as a fuel and as a signaling molecules. Beta hydroxybutyrate suppresses inflammatory pathways, increases insulin-sensitive adiponectin, and supports mitochondrial biogenesis. Those three things are important. Ketones, hydrobutyrate, suppresses inflammation, right? Which is causing all your problems. Increases insulin-sensitive adiponectin. It reduces insulin resistance. And it supports mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of more mitochondria in each cell. So you burn more. That's just fantastic. Clinical studies demonstrate that liver fat can decrease by 30 to 50% within 2 to 4 weeks of a ketogenic intervention, even with high dietary fat intake. Okay? The key insight: metabolic healing requires addressing the broken fat storage pathway while restoring cellular fat burning capacity. The mitochondrial transition challenge. Success in metabolic restoration depends on navigating the critical transition period from glucose dependence to fat adaptation. This transition, often called the mitochondrial transition challenge, can be turbulent for the body as it adjusts to a new energy source. Mitochondria must rapidly remodel during this phase to efficiently handle fat and ketone metabolism. The transition creates temporary metabolic turbulence. Glycogen stores deplete, insulin levels drop, but mitochondria haven't yet upregulated for efficient fat oxidation. This ATP, that's the energy unit that mitochondria produce at the end of their biochemical cycle. So this ATP shortfall triggers fatigue, brain fog, and symptoms commonly labeled as keto flu. Right? There are things we can do to help reduce this, but if you're getting it, you're getting on the right track. Successful adaptation requires specific cellular changes, increased mitochondrial density through PGC1 alpha activation, enhanced beta oxidation enzyme expression, improved redox balance, and mitochondrial fusion for efficient energy distribution. Your body's rebuilding itself properly to burn fat. Okay? Those who struggle often have compromised mitochondrial reserve capacity from years of oxidative damage. Impaired carnitine shuttle function, persistent insulin elevation blocking ketogenesis, electrolyte imbalances affecting enzymatic function, or poor autophagy preventing the clearance of damaged mitochondria. Okay? Precision restoration protocols address these limitations through phased interventions: initial system uploading to reduce the oxidative burden, and mitochondrial rewiring through controlled hormetic stress. Hormetic stress is the good kind of stress that helps you build up. So like if you're lifting weights, that's a hormetic kind of a stress. You are stressing your muscles, but it's helping build bigger muscles out of it, right? So it's helping strengthen yourself. So you want some hormetic stress, okay? Culminating in capacity expansion through metabolic flexibility training. All right. Diagnostic hierarchy for personalized intervention. Once again, think about this for yourself and what you can do here. Distinguishing between functional impairment and structural damage is crucial in determining the potential success of an intervention. This concept, known as the diagnostic hierarchy for personalized intervention, helps tailor the intervention to the individual's metabolic condition. Functional mitochondrial impairment often responds to lifestyle interventions, while structural damage may represent permanent capacity limitations. Keep that in mind. If you've been abusing your body for years and years and years, you may not be able to rebuild 100%, but you can rebuild a significant amount. It's well worth it, okay? Blood markers provide initial assessment, rapidly improving insulin levels and triglyceride to HDL ratios with intervention suggests functional impairment, while persistently elevated markers despite optimal inputs indicate deeper dysfunction. So we can see how that's working. Advanced testing reveals mitochondrial capacity more precisely. Respiratory quotient measurements show fuel utilization flexibility. Values above 0.9 during fasting suggest metabolic inflexibility that may be reversible through insulin sensitivity restoration. VO2 max testing, that's athletic ability, right? Combined with substrate utilization curves identifies mitochondrial oxidation capacity. Early crossover to anaerobic metabolism indicates impaired oxidative function. Heart rate variability reflects anatomic balance tied to mitochondrial redox status. Rapid HRV improvements with interventions suggests metabolic plasticity, while persistent low HRV indicates entrenched oxidative stress. Okay? Organic acid testing examines mitochondrial pathway metabolites. Elevated intermediates that improve with nutritional support suggest functional defects, while non-responsive patterns indicate structural limitations. This diagnostic hierarchy enables personalized intervention protocols matched to individual mitochondrial capacity and restoration potential. The future of metabolic medicine. Precision metabolic restoration represents a fundamental shift from reactive disease management to proactive cellular stewardship. This approach treats early mitochondrial impairment as the new pre-cancer, intervening when HOMA-IR exceeds 2 rather than waiting for clinical diabetes diagnosis. This is one of the key things here. Before you get a clinical diabetes diagnosis from your doctor, that's when your A1C rises up to a very high level, 6, 7, 8, right? And your glucose is elevated all the time. You're going to show symptoms of metabolic disease, which we can see very easily, and we can start treating right away. You can treat it very easily and never get to that point where it may be too late. Okay? I mean, you can fix your body. You can fix your body 70, 80, 90%, okay? But there are going to be some damages you do to your body through abuse of your system, through improper diet and lifestyle, that you may never get 100% back. Okay? Just understand that. But would you rather be at 50% or 90%, right? Keep that in mind, okay? These biomarkers will stratify metabolic risk 10 to 15 years before traditional diagnosis, when intervention potentially remains highest, right? Our ability to intervene remains the highest the earlier we find it, okay? Bottom line. Clinical care will shift from static treatment protocols to cyclical restoration approaches, incorporating metabolic unloading, cellular repair, and capacity expansion phases, right? I want you to do, if you've always wanted to run, I want you to run a half marathon, run a 10K or whatever. But if you're really metabolically broken, don't get up and run that immediately, for the most part. You want to build up to that. Okay, same thing. If your body's metabolically broken, don't think you're going to get fixed instantly. It takes time. Okay? Metabolic health coaches, like me, will become primary architects of disease reversal, interpreting biomarkers in the mitochondrial context and guiding phase-based lifestyle interventions. Okay? I am not a doctor. I do not diagnose diseases. I do not prescribe pills to you. What I do is I help you recognize where your body is at today using normal biometric measures that you and I both can find very easily, right, together. And I can use those to show you where ideally you should be and where you're at today and how we can help you fix that through diet and lifestyle. Okay, so this is not science fiction. This is science as, or this is healing, not medicine, healing, as it should have been, and as people used to do it thousands of years ago. Okay, this is holistic health, and I want you to, to absorb that. We're going to fix the entire body, not just individual symptoms that are showing symptoms. Okay, the concept of chronic disease, right? Which is how doctors label all these things: diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular disease. All these things are called chronic diseases, so they build up over time. Will evolve from terminal diagnosis to reversible adaptive failure, right? That means you just haven't changed enough to correct what you're doing, okay? Recognizing conditions like diabetes as metabolic rigidity and Alzheimer's as bioenergetic failure. Okay? That's what the latest research is showing. Alzheimer's is being marked as type 3 diabetes. If you haven't heard that, look it up. That means it's not irreversible. This is your brain not getting enough energy, right? Diabetes is your cells not getting it enough energy properly, okay? This vision extends beyond disease prevention to human optimization through metabolic flexibility enhancement. Practical implementation steps. Embracing precision metabolic restoration requires a fundamental shift from viewing the body as broken to recognizing it as blocked. Fatigue, insulin resistance, and brain fog represent feedback signals rather than permanent flaws. These are symptoms that just point to a problem we can help fix. Okay? The first practical step involves measuring real biomarkers and responding with targeted interventions. Testing fasting insulin, implementing 12-hour overnight fasting, tracking HRV, and practicing slow nasal breathing, recording triglyceride to HDL ratios, and adding post-meal walking or monitoring ketone levels by reducing carbohydrate intake. These are all steps in getting your body back to where it should be. Okay? These are not medical interventions. These are lifestyle and health metabolic interventions. This creates a feedback loop of measurement, action, and adjustment that builds metabolic awareness and agency. Okay? Implementing this approach requires practitioners to understand mitochondrial diagnostics, phase-based intervention, sequencing, and the biological principles underlying metabolic flexibility restoration. That's my job. Your doctor's not trained in this, quite honestly. They're trained on a bunch of other stuff that's very important for them to be trained in. Okay, this is not their bailiwick. The ultimate goal transcends disease prevention to unlock cellular capacity and extend the window of high functioning life through preserved mitochondrial health. Okay? If your mitochondria in your cells are essentially the engines that drive your body, and if your engine is in good shape, then your body's in good shape and you'll go a lot longer. Like if your car, if your engine's running well and you keep it properly lubricated with oils and you feed it good quality fuels, your car can run for thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. You feed it poor fuel, you let the oil run out, you don't change the air filter, when your engine starts to sputter and die. Okay? It's that simple. Metabolic enhancement through cellular optimization may prove more transformative than genetic engineering, right? Offering a return to ancestral physiological resilience rather than artificial augmentation. Think about it. Our Paleolithic and Neolithic ancestors ran down big game, to hunt them. They fought off ice ages. They survived and they thrived. We would have a hard time just chasing down meat that's sitting in the compartment in the grocery store, right? We need to get better. Okay. The future of medicine will center on unlocking human capacity rather than managing decline. With metabolic flexibility as the foundation for cognitive performance, physical resilience, and longevity optimization. This transformation begins with recognizing that the most potent medicine exists within cells that remember how to burn fat, clear waste, and adapt to stress. That's a healthy cell. Okay? We're not here to We're here to promote you being healthy all the time. Your body has a remarkable capacity to self-heal and to rebuild what it needs to. All you have to do is give it the time and the energy and the fuel and the resources to do that. Reclaiming the cellular intelligence represents the path from disease management to vitality restoration. All right. I want to thank you for watching. If you would please, if you haven't done so, like, subscribe, share this with somebody who might need it, and leave comments. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what I'm missing, so that I can add more to the channel. This is the community. We're here to help each other. Let me know what you're missing. Thank you very much.